There comes a moment in every person's life when they get tired of being shaken by every opinion, every glance, every disappointment, every little storm. We tell ourselves, I wish I could act like nothing bothers me anymore. But the truth is, becoming unshakable isn't about pretending you're made of stone. It's about learning to live so rooted in who you are that the world can't pull you out of yourself so easily. True calm begins the moment we decide to stop performing strength and start practicing honesty. Most people try to look unbothered on the outside while carrying storms on the inside, hoping the world won't notice their fear, insecurity, or overwhelm. But pretending doesn't create peace, it creates pressure. Real calm is born when we tell the truth about what shakes us, what hurts us, and what we haven't yet learned to handle. Self-honesty isn't weakness, it's the foundation that everything stable is built on. When something disturbs you, the instinct is to dismiss it. You say, it's fine, even when it is. You say, I don't care, even while your mind spins with questions. You push feelings aside as if ignoring them will make them disappear. But suppressed emotions don't vanish. They settle deeper, waiting for the next moment to erupt. Calm isn't the absence of emotion, it's the ability to understand, name, and manage what you feel. And that starts by admitting the truth to yourself, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Self-honesty allows you to say, I'm sensitive to criticism. I struggle when people pull away. I get triggered by disrespect. I'm afraid of being misunderstood. When you name it, it becomes manageable. When you deny it, it controls you. Nothing disturbs us more than the emotions we refuse to acknowledge. The moment you face them, their power weakens. You become less reactive because you understand what's happening inside you. You stop being thrown around by every comment, every silence, every shift in someone else's mood. Calm grows when you recognize the stories your mind tells under stress. Maybe you default to believing you did something wrong. Maybe you assume rejection where there is none. Maybe you hear old echoes of unworthiness. But honesty lets you pause and say, this is my fear talking, not reality. That kind of awareness creates space to breathe, to choose, to respond instead of react. You stop letting your wounds drive your behavior. You start showing up with intention rather than reflex. When you're honest with yourself, you no longer need to pretend you're unaffected. Pretending drains you, honesty frees you. It gives you permission to feel and still stay centered. It helps you understand what you need: a boundary, a pause, a conversation, or simply compassion for your own humanity. It helps you show up in relationships without hidden resentment or silent expectations. It teaches you to hold your emotions with curiosity rather than judgment. Calm is not a performance. It's an inner alignment that comes from knowing yourself deeply and accepting yourself fully. When you are honest about what disturbs you, you learn how to soothe it. When you are honest about your pain, you learn how to protect it. And when you are honest about your patterns, you learn how to rise above them. That is the beginning of unshakable peace: truth over denial, awareness over avoidance, self-connection over self-hiding. Boundaries create emotional protection in a world that constantly pulls at your attention, your energy, and your sense of self. Many people think being calm means letting everything slide, staying silent, or pretending nothing gets to them. But real calm isn't built through tolerance, it's built through limits. Boundaries are the invisible lines that tell the world, this is where my peace lives, and only I decide who gets near it. Without boundaries, anyone can walk into your emotional space, rearrange your priorities, and drain your strength. With boundaries, your inner world becomes a place you guard with intention. A boundary is simply choosing what you allow and what you don't. It's deciding that your mental health is more important than pleasing everyone. It's understanding that you don't owe constant access to people who misuse it. It's learning that no is a complete sentence and I can't right now is a form of self-respect. The moment you start honoring your limits, you begin to feel lighter, not because life gets easier, but because you stop carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with. Boundaries create emotional protection by filtering the noise. You no longer react to every mood someone throws at you. You no longer feel responsible for fixing what others refuse to acknowledge. You no longer absorb tension that doesn't belong to you. Instead, you learn how to step back without guilt, how to disengage without anger, and how to stay grounded even when others are chaotic. Boundaries don't push people away, they push chaos away. Many people fear setting boundaries because they worry about being seen as distant or uncaring. But boundaries are the opposite of disconnection, they make healthy connection possible. When you protect your emotional space, you show up more authentically, more sustainably, and more peacefully. You're not carrying hidden resentment, You're not silently stretching beyond your capacity. You're not pretending everything is fine when it's not. Boundaries allow you to love without losing yourself, help without self-abandoning, give without depleting. The greatest power of boundaries is that they teach others how to treat you. Every time you let something slide that hurts you, you teach people that it's acceptable. Every time you bite your tongue to avoid conflict, you reinforce the idea that your feelings are optional. But when you speak up, calmly, clearly, and consistently, you shift the dynamic. You make it known that your peace matters. You make it clear that your well-being is not negotiable. And people adjust. Those who genuinely care will honor your limits. Those who don't were relying on your lack of boundaries to benefit them. Emotional protection isn't about building walls, it's about building gates. You choose what enters. You choose what stays. You choose what leaves. Boundaries don't make you hard, they make you wise. They turn you into someone who can remain peaceful in a loud world, centered in a chaotic situation, and self-respecting in every relationship. When you learn to guard your emotional space, you stop being easily disturbed. You stop absorbing negativity that isn't yours. And most importantly, you start living from a place of grounded strength instead of constant defense. That is the protection boundaries provide. Emotional regulation is a practiced skill, not an inborn trait reserved for a calm few. People often assume that those who stay composed during conflict, disappointment, or chaos are simply naturally chill. But emotional steadiness is crafted, shaped, strengthened, and strengthened again through daily choices. It's a discipline like learning a language, building muscle, or mastering an instrument. You don't wake up emotionally regulated. You become emotionally regulated by repeatedly practicing how to respond rather than react. Every emotion you feel has a purpose. Anger signals a boundary. Sadness reveals a need. Fear warns of danger. But when these emotions take control, the mind becomes reactive, and reactions often lead to regret. Emotional regulation teaches you to pause long enough to understand what's happening inside before you let the outside world see your response. That pause is powerful. It's the difference between escalating a situation and calming it. It's the difference between saying something you'll regret or speaking from intention. It's the gap where emotional maturity lives. Practicing emotional regulation begins with awareness. You notice the tightening in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach, the heat rising in your face. Instead of acting on the feeling, you name it. I'm irritated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm hurt. Naming an emotion doesn't make you weak, it makes you conscious. Awareness turns chaos into clarity. Once you know what you're feeling, you can choose the next step instead of being dragged by the moment. Breathing, grounding techniques, and self-talk are not cliches, they are tools. A slow breath interrupts panic. A moment of silence interrupts impulse. Reminding yourself, I don't need to react right away, interrupts old patterns. Regulation is not about suppressing emotions, it's about giving yourself enough space to process them without letting them run wild. When you regulate your emotions, you're not ignoring your feelings, you're guiding them. Another part of emotional regulation is understanding triggers. Everyone has emotional buttons shaped by past experiences, fears, and old wounds. When someone presses one, the reaction feels amplified. Practicing regulation means recognizing those buttons and disarming them over time. It means telling yourself, this feels big because it touches something old, not because it's truly dangerous. That kind of self-understanding creates stability. You learn to separate the present moment from the past, which keeps you grounded instead of overwhelmed. Consistency is where the skill sharpens. Every time you choose a pause over a reaction, you're training your emotional muscles. Every time you speak calmly instead of exploding, you're strengthening your inner resilience. Every time you refuse to let someone else's mood dictate your own, you're becoming more emotionally self-governed. Over time, the pause becomes natural, the clarity becomes quicker, and the reactions become more measured. Emotional regulation doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger within it. It helps you navigate conflict without losing yourself, face stress without shutting down, and stay centered in moments designed to destabilize you. This skill is the quiet power behind being unbothered. It's the internal mastery that allows you to rise above chaos, stay aligned with your values, and face the world with a calm that is earned, not inherited. Not everything deserves your energy, and the moment you truly understand that, your life becomes lighter, clearer, and far more peaceful. Most of us are drained not because life is too heavy, but because we spend our emotional energy on things that don't matter, don't change, or don't deserve a place in our inner world. We react to every tone of voice, every social media post, every misunderstanding, every look, every small inconvenience, as if all of it is worthy of our attention. But the truth is, almost nothing requires the emotional weight we give it. Your energy is a limited resource. Every day, you wake up with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical capacity, and whether you realize it or not, you choose, moment by moment, where that energy goes. When you pour it into arguments that go in circles, into people who only take, into worries that never become reality, or into stories your mind fabricated out of fear, you end up empty. The things that deserve your energy, your goals, your relationships, your growth, your peace, never get the strength they need. Being unbothered is not about caring less, it's about caring smarter. Not everything is worth a reaction. Some comments come from projection, not truth. Some behavior says more about the person acting than it does about you. Some conflicts are simply invitations to chaos, and declining the invitation is an act of wisdom. When you understand this, you stop personalizing every slight and start recognizing which moments are simply noise. You learn to say, "This isn't worth my peace," and move forward without guilt. Part of protecting your energy is accepting that you don't need to prove yourself to everyone. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding, defend every choice, or fight every battle. Some people misunderstand you because it benefits them. Some arguments exist only to pull you off track. Some situations resolve themselves without your involvement. Stepping back isn't weakness, it's strategy. You're not ignoring the problem, you're refusing to be consumed by what isn't yours to carry. Letting go of energy thieves also means releasing the habit of overthinking. The mind loves to replay moments, analyze conversations, and invent scenarios, but that constant mental friction drains you more than anything outside of you. Redirecting your energy means gently telling yourself, "I don't need to waste power on this," and returning your focus to something that actually nourishes you. Your attention is the most powerful currency you have. Give it only to what enriches your life. And finally, understand that what you choose to engage with shapes the person you become. If you give your energy to drama, you become reactive. If you give it to fear, you become smaller. If you give it to growth, clarity, and purpose, you become grounded. The difference between feeling overwhelmed by life and feeling steady in life often comes down to this one truth: you control where your energy goes. And once you learn to invest it wisely, the world loses its ability to disturb you. Your worth is not up for negotiation, no matter who questions it, doubts it, misunderstands it, or tries to diminish it. Too often, people hand out their self-worth like a business card, hoping for approval, validation, or acceptance in return. They adjust who they are to fit someone else's expectations. They shrink so others feel comfortable. They over-explain to justify their choices. They tolerate disrespect so they won't be abandoned. But every time you negotiate your worth, you give someone else the power to define you. And the moment you let someone else define you, you lose yourself. Worth is not something you earn through perfection, performance, or pleasing others. It's something you inherently have. It exists before anyone praises you and remains even when someone rejects you. When you forget this, you start believing the wrong people, those who criticize from insecurity, judge from ignorance, or withdraw out of their own fear. Their reactions are not proof of your inadequacy. They are reflections of their inner world, not yours. You cannot base your worth on people who are still battling their own. When you know your worth, you stop apologizing for existing. You stop explaining your boundaries to those who only want to cross them. You stop trying to convince people that you deserve kindness, respect, and consideration. People who require convincing are the ones least capable of giving it. Knowing your worth means walking away from situations that make you feel small, even if it's uncomfortable. It means trusting yourself enough to choose peace over approval. Your worth is also not determined by your past. Mistakes, failures, heartbreaks, and detours do not reduce your value. They shape you, teach you, grow you, but they do not diminish you. The world might try to define you by your flaws, but your worth is anchored in the courage it takes to continue growing. When you internalize this, you stand differently. You no longer accept treatment that contradicts who you know you are, and your worth is not something you have to argue about. You don't need to raise your voice, beg for understanding, or exhaust yourself proving your value. Worth speaks quietly. It shows in how you carry yourself, how you respond to disrespect, how quickly you leave situations that dishonor you. It shows in the standards you set, not the battles you fight. People who recognize your value will never make you earn it. People who don't will never see it, no matter how hard you try. The most powerful thing you can do is believe so deeply in your own value that the world cannot convince you otherwise. When you know your worth, external chaos loses its power. Opinions lose their sting. Rejection loses its meaning. You become anchored, not cocky, not cold, but rooted. And when you are rooted, you cannot be easily shaken. Your worth is not up for negotiation because it was never something the world gave you. It's something you've had all along, and the moment you fully claim it, everything in your life begins to shift. Unbothered is not coldness, it's confidence, and understanding this difference can change the way you move through the world. People often confuse emotional steadiness with emotional distance, as if the moment you stop reacting to everything, you suddenly become uncaring or detached. But real calm doesn't come from shutting down. It comes from knowing yourself so well that you don't need to prove, defend, or justify your existence to anyone. Confidence is the quiet belief that you are allowed to choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and stability over drama. Coldness is a wall, confidence is an anchor. When you're cold, you disconnect from your emotions and the people around you. You avoid vulnerability, numb your feelings, and keep your heart guarded. But when you're confident, you're fully present. You feel deeply, but you're not ruled by every emotion that passes through you. You're aware of your triggers, your limits, and your values. You understand that not every situation deserves your reaction, and not every person deserves your access. Confidence gives you the power to pause, not because you don't care, but because you refuse to be controlled by what doesn't align with your peace. Being unbothered doesn't mean being indifferent. It means you've outgrown the need for validation from people who don't understand you. It means you've learned that overreacting drains you, while responding calmly strengthens you. It means you no longer chase closure, attention, or approval from places that cannot offer it. You show up for yourself first, and because of that, the world's noise becomes less threatening. You're not running from emotions, you're simply choosing which emotions deserve space in your life. Confidence is also the courage to let things be. You don't have to fix every misunderstanding or control every outcome. You don't need to win every argument or defend yourself against every assumption. Confident people understand that silence can be more powerful than explanations, that walking away is sometimes wiser than engaging, and that protecting your peace is more important than proving your point. This isn't coldness, it's discernment. When you embrace this kind of confidence, you stop taking everything personally. Not because you're numb, but because you recognize that many people speak from their wounds, their fears, or their unresolved struggles. Their reactions are rarely about you. And even when they are, your sense of self doesn't crumble. You don't break at every criticism or swell at every compliment. You stay steady because your identity is rooted internally, not externally. Unbothered confidence is warm, grounded, and intentional. It makes room for compassion without sacrificing self-respect. It allows you to remain kind without being walked on. It gives you the strength to be soft without being fragile. When you carry this kind of energy, you glow differently. You move with purpose. You respond with clarity. You radiate a presence that says, I know who I am and I'm not easily shaken. That is what it truly means to be unbothered, not heartless but whole, not cold but centered, not distant but deeply confident in the person you've become.